Thank you. The chair now recognizes herself for 5 minutes. Certainly, whether we're talking about emerging breakthrough therapy or we're talking about standardized conventional care, doesn't every clinical trial, randomized controlled trial for a drug go through a process by which patients are excluded from the trial? You're trying to get as pure results as possible. Would that not be true for any type of therapy? Yes, no?
I would say yes. It's just that it's a little bit different. There isn't one single science like pharmacology or pharmacotherapeutics, right, to guide what would be inclusion and exclusion criteria. So clearly, studies like the one Dr. Yehuda is leading and others, I think will be highly informative to us in the future.
Yes, certainly, this isn't only a chemical that's being administered, there's psychotherapy, so that's a little bit different and a little more convoluted or difficult, I would think, for the FDA to seek approval. And Dr. Yehuda, so the Bronx VA is not the only VA that is doing these types of studies, and there are also similar studies going on through other research institutions and medical facilities as well, is there not?
Yes, I believe so.
I think the evidence and the literature would confirm what you just said, that yes, there is. Dr. Clancy, at the VA hosted psychedelic state-of-the-art conference, one of the key gaps in research identified was the need for more trials conducted with veterans. What's the VA's plan to address this obvious gap, i.e., are you setting up to do more trials or to expand the number of admissions into trials?
That's a topic that we're working through right now, and again, we look forward to sharing our conclusions when we've made those decisions.
And is it not true if there were, let me give an example, a drug for high blood pressure that was approved by the FDA, how long would it take for the VA to then prescribe that medication for individuals, or a statin for cholesterol?
Well, in the case of pharmaceuticals, we have a very active pharmacy evaluation group, and I'm mangling their official bureaucratic name, that meets almost immediately, and that has allowed us to do...
But would it take 5 years? Would it take more clinical trials?
I mean,
to both Representative Bergman and Representative Luttrell's point, the concern that we have is that even after FDA approval of MDMA-assisted therapy or breakthrough therapy, that there will be a long lag time until the VA starts instituting that. So I guess what we'd like to convey, or some of us would like to convey, is that we think the VA should be preparing for that ahead of time.
Yes.
We know that there'll be workforce issues. We know that the types of veterans that will seek this therapy, and that utilizing both the research within the VA as well as the research outside of the VA that's being conducted be brought into that, because certainly the FDA is not looking only at the research the VAs are doing, but they're looking at the research that's occurring at other research institutions.
Yes, no, I think we agree with you completely. And I'd just like to ask Dr. Wiekers to, again, stress that we have a strong track record here, and this was a very important theme at our conference.
Thank you, Dr. Clancy. As an example, previous emerging therapy, intranasal S-ketamine, or Spravato, was FDA approved in March of 2019, and we treated our first veteran inside VA at the Boston VA in July of 2019. It took about 4 months for our Pharmacy Benefits Management National Formulary Committee to go through its standard operating processes to review all of the information from FDA and to make its own determination about the status within VA, and then for us to stand up with building upon some expertise at facilities that were already providing ketamine treatments to then utilize the intranasal S-ketamine treatments. And then we expanded thereafter and now have 42 sites across VA providing either ketamine or S-ketamine treatment today.
Well, we would hope if the FDA approves this, there would be the same rapidity of treatment. As we know, ketamine has a dosing issue and more addictive potential. When I think SSRIs were discussed, so when we're talking about medication that we currently utilize in addition to therapy and psychotherapy for veterans for depression, so whether it's anxiolytics, antidepressants, these medications have a side effect profile that is fairly significant. So whether it's foggy brain, whether it is multiple medications, alteration of medications, there's a side effect profile that so far, and I think Dr. Yehuda alluded to this, you've not seen that same side effect profile as you have in the studies that you're doing.
Yes, because the drug isn't administered continuously. The drug is taken just a few times. And so there are things that happen during the course of the day that are monitored very carefully. And then what we are on the lookout for is whether there are other kinds of changes in mood or physiologic states that occur over time. But this is exactly the work that we have to do in the future to make sure that this is safe for everybody to take.
Thank you. I yield. The chair now recognizes